In 2023, JPMorgan quietly filed a patent. It was for an AI system that was capable of doing the same amount of work in a single day that a human analyst would take 360,000 hours to complete. But oddly, that same year their investment banking division handed out $9 billion to their human analyst division as bonuses. The irony of this is that the $9 billion were given to a workforce whose entire job this patent was designed to replace. The existence of these two things on JPMorgan's balance sheet does not mean that Wall Street is confused, it means that Wall Street is buying time. By the time this video is over, you are going to understand exactly how a $6 trillion reallocation of financial intelligence is already happening right now. You are going to understand why human judgment in finance was always more replaceable than the industry admitted. And you are going to see the specific opening this shift has created, an opening in capital access that has genuinely never existed before in 200 years of modern finance. None of this is what Wall Street's press releases would have you believe. Here is the argument. The human layer in finance, the analysts, the underwriters, the credit officers, the portfolio managers, was never really there to generate superior returns. It was there to control who got access to capital in the first place. Those are two very different things. And the fact that the industry spent 60 years convincing everyone they were the same thing is exactly how this story ends the way it does. The dismantling is happening on three fronts at once. AI systems are replacing human portfolio managers in quantitative funds. Algorithmic underwriting is replacing human judgment in lending decisions. And automated credit scoring is tearing apart the relationship-based model that governed who got capital and who didn't for over a century. These are not three separate trends, they are the same structural collapse showing up in three different parts of the same machine. But here is what makes this video different from every other Wall Street disruption piece you have probably seen. This shift did not only close doors. It opened a specific structural opening in capital access that we will come back to before this video ends. First though, you need to understand what is being taken apart, because you cannot see the opening clearly until you understand what was blocking it. Go back to 1934. The Securities Exchange Act creates the regulatory architecture that will govern American capital markets for the next 90 years. And built into that architecture is a very deliberate assumption that capital allocation is too important to be left to ordinary people. So a licensed professional class is placed between the money and the market. Brokers, advisors, analysts, underwriters. Every single one of them a human checkpoint. And honestly, in 1934, that made sense. Information was genuinely asymmetric back then. The institutional banker had access to research, relationships, and market intelligence that a regular business owner simply could not get independently. The analyst was not just performing a service in some abstract way, the analyst was the only available conduit for information that existed nowhere else. That information monopoly became the foundation of every premium fee, every management expense ratio, every advisory retainer in the history of Wall Street. And it held for 50 years because the asymmetry was real. Then something happened that the industry noticed immediately and immediately decided to explain away. In 1988, a former mathematics professor named Jim Simons launches a fund out of a converted storeroom on Long Island. And the countdown begins. His medallion fund goes on to produce average annual returns of 66% before fees for 30 consecutive years. Not in a good year. Not in a bull market. 30 years. No human fund manager in history has come anywhere close to replicating that. Not even in the same conversation. But here is what the industry told itself about Renaissance technologies for 3 decades. It told itself this was an anomaly. A mathematical curiosity. A once-in-a-generation outlier that proved nothing about the broader relationship between human judgment and algorithmic decision-making. And the industry genuinely believed it. Because the idea that human financial judgment was irreplaceable was not just a business position. It was an identity. The analyst was not merely a professional, The analyst was a practitioner of a craft that required intuition, experience, and relationship intelligence that no algorithm could possess. Renaissance did not shake that belief. It just started a 30-year clock that nobody wanted to read as a clock. The response to Renaissance was not reform, it was integration. The big banks hired quantitative analysts and placed them alongside their human counterparts. The message was very deliberate: the machine serves the analyst. Technology is a tool. Human judgment is still in charge. That framing survived for 3 decades because it was partially true. Between 1988 and around 2020, the data required to fully automate financial judgment simply did not exist at the quality and scale needed to make the human layer redundant. The machine genuinely needed the analyst. That balance held. And then it broke. The breaking point was not one event, it was 3 technical thresholds that crossed within 18 months of each other between 2022 and 2024. And when all 3 crossed at the same time, the equation changed permanently. The first was data volume. By 2023, the sheer quantity of financial data available for model training had crossed a threshold where AI systems could develop genuine predictive capability, not just pattern matching, actual causal modeling of market behavior at a depth no human team could match. The second was model architecture. Large language models became capable of processing earnings calls, regulatory filings, news sentiment, and macroeconomic signals simultaneously, in real time, across thousands of assets at once. No human analyst team can process that volume in any comparable time window. It is not even close. The third was decision speed. AI systems now operate at a decision latency that human judgment simply cannot compete with on any dimension where speed matters. And in financial markets, speed almost always matters. When you have sufficient data, sufficient analytical capability, and sufficient decision speed all at once, you do not complement human judgment. You structurally replace it. And that raises a question the industry still cannot answer publicly. If the system processes more data, analyzes it more precisely, and acts on it faster, what exactly is the human layer still providing? The honest answer is access control. The same thing it was created to provide back in 1934. In 2023, BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager with $10 trillion under management, announced the expansion of its Aladdin AI platform to replace significant portions of its fundamental research process. Not augment. Replace. That word was chosen deliberately. That same year, Goldman Sachs released an internal report estimating that AI could automate 300 million hours of financial work annually across the global industry. And then, in the same 12 months they published that report, they began deploying their own AI systems internally to do exactly that. These were not pilot programs. This was not innovation theater. These were the 2 most sophisticated financial institutions on Earth making structural decisions in the same calendar year. The human judgment layer had not been supplemented, it had been evaluated, measured, and found redundant at scale. What followed was not a panic. It was a reallocation. Capital, compensation, and infrastructure began moving, quietly, systematically, without press releases, away from human analytical functions and toward AI-native systems. That reallocation is the $6 trillion shift this video is named for. And it is not a projection, it is already happening. $6 trillion in assets under management will be fully governed by AI-native capital allocation systems by 2027, according to research from Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and Deloitte published between 2023 and 2024. Not reduced human involvement, zero discretionary human judgment in the allocation process. And the implications go far beyond the careers of the analysts being displaced. Because the human judgment layer was not only producing analytical output, it was producing structural friction. Friction that was applied unevenly, and that systematically favored operators with existing institutional relationships over everyone else. When you remove a friction layer that was applied unevenly, you do not just make the existing system faster. You change who the system is capable of serving. The AI-native financial infrastructure replacing the human judgment layer runs on three principles that are fundamentally different from everything that came before it. The first is continuous processing. Human analysts worked in cycles, quarterly reports, annual reviews, periodic assessments. AI systems process financial data continuously, in real time, without interruption. A business's financial position is not assessed at a point in time anymore, it is assessed at every moment. That eliminates the information lag responsible for a huge proportion of mispriced risk in the legacy system. The second is variable comprehensiveness. Human underwriters had cognitive limits, they could only process so many variables before decision quality degraded. AI systems process thousands of variables at once, including data sources no human process ever incorporated, payment velocity, supply chain stability, web traffic patterns, social sentiment, operational metadata. The picture they build of a borrower is not just more detailed, it is fundamentally more accurate. The third is relationship independence. Human capital allocation was structurally relationship dependent. The lending officer who knew the borrower. The analyst who covered the sector. AI systems have no relationships, they have only data. And data, unlike relationships, does not discriminate by familiarity. Take the FICO credit scoring model as a concrete example. Built in 1989 on 5 variables: payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, types of credit, new inquiries. That model has governed access to capital for 35 years. And it was not built to be accurate, it was built to be administratively manageable. A small enough variable set that human underwriters could process it at scale. AI credit systems have no such constraint. Operators who were completely invisible to the FICO model, because they lack the right type of credit history, are not invisible to an AI system that can read their operational data directly. A business generating consistent revenue, paying vendors on time, maintaining predictable operations, that is a credit-worthy business. Regardless of whether it has a 30-year relationship with a Chase lending officer. The gate has been rebuilt. And it has been rebuilt on entirely different criteria. Which means it opens for different people. So what does this actually mean for the people sitting inside this shift right now? If you are an investor, institutional or individual, the structural logic is pretty clear. The alpha generation premium that active human management has charged for 60 years is no longer defensible on performance data. The data from 2022 to 2024 shows AI-native quant strategies outperforming human-managed equivalents at a consistency that has moved from statistical advantage to structural advantage. The fee compression this creates for traditional asset managers is not a cycle, it is a permanent repricing. If you hold positions in traditional asset management firms, the multiple compression since 2021 is not the market being irrational. It is the market reading this structural shift correctly, ahead of the public narrative. If you work in finance, as an analyst, an underwriter, a credit officer, a portfolio manager, the position that survives this is not defined by the analytical tasks you currently perform. It is defined by your ability to direct, interpret, and be accountable for what AI systems produce. The analyst who tries to compete with AI on data processing will lose, and the margin will make the debate irrelevant. The analyst who positions themselves as the accountability layer above the system, that position is one the system itself cannot fill. That distinction is the difference between displacement and a decade of continued relevance. And if you are a business operator seeking capital, the practical implication is the most immediate of all three. The relationship-based access model is being replaced by a data-based one. Operators who keep meticulous financial records, demonstrate consistent revenue velocity, and build documented business performance that AI systems can read, those operators are gaining access to capital that the legacy model would never have offered them. For 60 years, access to institutional capital was governed by a professional class whose primary qualification was knowing the right people in the right buildings. That is not cynical, it is just structural. The human judgment layer was, among other things, a social network with a lending function attached to it. AI systems do not have social networks. They have data. And data-based capital allocation, for the first time in the 200-year history of modern finance, creates a real structural path to institutional capital for operators who were previously excluded, not because their businesses were weak, but because they were too far from the right relationships. AI-native lending platforms are right now extending institutional-grade capital to small and medium-sized operators at terms that were structurally impossible under the relationship model, because the AI system can read the operational data that proves creditworthiness in ways the legacy model never could. The operators who understand that the criteria have changed and who build their financial operations to be readable by these systems are not just accessing cheaper capital. They are accessing a tier of infrastructure that was previously reserved exclusively for operators with decades of institutional relationships behind them. The gate has moved. And it has moved in a direction that rewards how well you run your business, not how well you know your banker. In 200 years of modern finance, that is genuinely new. Wall Street built its entire premium on one belief above everything else, that human judgment was the irreplaceable ingredient in capital allocation. That belief is being retired. Not by ideology, not by regulation, by data. The system replacing human judgment in finance is not the end of opportunity in capital markets. It is the end of the era where access to opportunity required permission from a human gatekeeper. That permission structure is coming down. What you build in the space it leaves behind is the question that matters now. And as always, the world is constantly changing. Change itself is like a cloak sewn to the back of our existence. And the world rewards the one who embraces this change rather than reject it. Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next week.